Disclaimer, this show is for educational purposes only and is not an alternative for clinical counseling. Please seek a mental health professional for your specific needs.
Hello. Welcome back to Intake Talk Show. I am your host, Bertha Barrett. As always, if this is your first time here or you're returning, welcome. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button right down there to show that you support the show. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, follow us to show your support. In this final segment, part 2 of my conversation with Dr. Monica Hardy, we take a deeper look at faith, grief, and what it means to be human in the middle of loss. Dr. Hardy shares openly about the tension between faith and feelings, the pressure leaders often face to appear strong, and the importance of giving ourselves permission to pause and feel. This is a raw, authentic conversation for anyone navigating grief, caregiving, or spiritual leadership, reminding us that vulnerability doesn't weaken our faith, it deepens it. Let us go into this powerful conversation.
Welcome back to Intake Talk Show with your host, Bertha F. Barrett, licensed mental health counselor. Today, we wrap up our conversation with Dr. Monica Hardy, a minister and businesswoman. Your Intake podcast starts now.
Welcome back to Intake. I'm your host, Bertha Barrett. And again, today I have with me Dr. Monica Hardy. And Dr. Hardy is talking about this grief process with losing both her father and brother in such a short period of time. I got to say, Dr. Hardy, I appreciate you for your authenticity in sharing, this journey that you had to go through. As a woman of faith, a mentor, you do so many things. I really appreciate that. And I think I know people need to hear conversations like this more often, especially in the Christian industry, right? We need to talk more about these things because as a woman of God, as we call them, okay? As a woman of God, as the preacher, the pastor, you are expected to keep yourself here. And we forget that you're also human, that you feel and you experience things just as the people that you're preaching to, right? And so we almost feel like you have to be here. But then when you go behind them doors, because there's so much pressure on you to just be this role until you just, nobody knows what's going on behind the closed doors, right? And it's almost like you're afraid to be vulnerable in these spaces. But people need to see that, right? Because I don't care what, who you are, what your faith is. The reality as this creative being, this beautiful being that we are, we were given a whole body, mind, body, soul, spirit, and you have to be able to balance it all, right? You have to be able to balance it all. And teaching others how to balance that doesn't take away from your faith. It really doesn't. It doesn't take away from your faith. So before I ask you this next question, let's just talk about that. How important that is to understand just because you're going through something doesn't mean your faith is affected, right? That you don't trust God. Because you can still trust God and go through some things. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jesus himself said, Father, why have thou forsaken me? He had his moment, but never ever did he stop trusting God.
Exactly.
So can we just talk about that just for a few minutes?
Absolutely. I always say if you want to get me all wound up, that's that conversation on faith and feelings. You have faith, but what makes you think you're wrong for having feelings? And so many don't believe that you can have both. It's like, I'm a person of faith, so I'm not supposed to feel anything. And I don't understand that. What's the matter, baby? My baby get riled up when I get riled up. And I'm thinking, no, you can have feelings. You have them, and you need a moment. And what the Lord took me to was the story of Mary and Martha when Lazarus died. God took me there. God showed me early one morning. God just took me there. And he showed me how Martha, the way Jesus went on with his business. But when he got to come see Martha, Martha was in faith, but in feelings. She was literally the way it played out in my mind. This was early in the morning. I was sitting in my bed, God dealing with me. I saw like a whole role play of this thing. And it's like Martha, hand on hip, where have you been? Talking to Jesus. And Jesus, well, I'm the Messiah. And, when I get here, I don't want to hear all that. Where have you been? You're my friend. I don't want to hear none of that. I don't want to hear about you, Jesus and the Messiah. You are my friend. My brother is not only dead, but buried. And if you would have been here, he wouldn't have died, by the way. And literally, Christ paused and was like, in his mind, I'm not going to win this argument with Martha today. She having a whole sister girl moment. Martha, just take me to where he lay. And in that moment, the next verse is Jesus wept. I'm not finna fight her feelings. I'm going to join her in her feelings. The Lord took me to that verse. He gave me a 2024, 25, or was it 23 at the time? Whatever year it was, he gave me an updated version of feelings. Those are her feelings. She needed to express them. Did that make her any less saved? No. Did it make her any less Jesus' friend? No. He was her friend, her confidant, her companion. They had a relationship. I have a relationship with God. They had a relationship. So, and God was okay with her expressions, even her feelings, even her boldness. She was talking to Christ herself, flat-footed and fussing. So why am I not allowed to have feelings? Why am I not allowed to feel the pain of my grief? So that's when God took me there, I became okay to have feelings. The Bible says, weeping may endure for a night. Folk don't even want to give you a night. You can't even get a night to be, because here they come. Woman of God, pray about it, woman of God. We pray, woman of God. Get off my phone. Get off my phone. Don't be calling me quoting no scripture. Don't be acting like I don't know the word. It's not that I don't need your prayers. Please pray. But don't treat me like I don't have a relationship with God. Don't treat me like I don't have a prayer life. Because if you cut me, you're going to pray, but I'm still going to bleed. And if you don't cover it, I'm going to bleed out. And that's real. So why do we not allow people to feel in that moment? Let them feel that you can go there. You can't stay there. It's not healthy to stay there. But you need to go there. You need to scream. You need to holler. You need to shout and all of that. And then, of course, you need to be consoled. You need to be eased out of the cave. You need to be brought back to a sense of reality. But to me, the worst thing you can do is not allow people to feel. So that's a space for me, sister. Ooh, that's a space for me.
Whew, I love it. I love it. Okay. We can talk about this forever. This is one of those conversations that I can stay on for a long time. And Dr. Hardy, I'm gonna say it earlier in the show that I'm gonna have to get you back on the show, okay? And we're gonna have to talk again about some other things because again, I want people to understand that dealing with these emotions, by the way, that God gave you, they didn't just come out of invisible air. God gave you does not affect your faith.
Absolutely.
And also having a space to be able to go in and talk and get the help that's needed doesn't mean you don't trust God,
Doesn't mean that.
right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And we need to have conversations like this, more conversations. So I'm going to invite you back and hopefully you'll come and let's just talk some more about this.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what I want to do now is talk about what your support system looked like during this time. Early on you said, you were feeling alone. But in the moments when you were in the crowd with people, what was that like? Like, what was the support system? Were you still feeling alone, even though you were in a room full of people?
Yes, I still felt alone. This would actually go back to before my father died. I think about it. People will walk up to me and they would say, "How's your dad?" And I would look back at them and go, "So you're not gonna start with how I'm doing? I haven't slept in 3 days. I probably haven't been eating. And I've been running down my dad, who's not that nice in this season of his life. And you walk up to me and go, 'How's your dad?'" People didn't know better. They didn't mean any harm, but it affected me. Again, all this is discussed in my book about a caregiver. However, after the loss, the support system wasn't what I thought. Support came from what I call private pockets of support from people you would least expect. It didn't come from the people I thought would be there. Again, I moved from Jacksonville to Middleburg, so a lot of the feedback I was getting was, "Oh, I can't make it out there today. I can't come see you. That's too far." And I get it. Them 45 minutes in the car probably felt like a long drive, but I was in a really bad place. There were people that sacrificed to get to me, but it wasn't the people that I expected. It was always people that you probably least expect to come to your aid, but they sacrificed and they came. The majority don't mean harm, but after loss, I have found that people scatter. After the services are over, it goes quiet. Not because people don't care, not because people are not praying, because everybody is praying. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. But yet, no one wants to get training and counseling around grief. The one thing that's inconsistent in life is death. And we're trained to act a certain way around it, but we don't want to get properly prepared for it. And it's an area that most people need. My support system ended up being, like I said, select people. I call it private support. They know who they are. I'm not giving names. And people don't understand that sometimes support is showing up with food, home cooking a meal, showing up to help to clean up, help me. I had just moved, to help me unpack. It wasn't about talking. It was about being able to, "I'm gonna go pay a bill for you." It wasn't about it. Support is never the way people think. It's usually different than what people think, and they just don't realize. I ended up getting several counselors. I had a older lady that counseled me, professional mental health counselor. I had another clinically trained counselor, and she was a wellness coach. I went through her. I had a counselor through one of the agencies right after my father died. I had another counselor through an agency, the different palliative style, hospice style agencies after the loss of my dad, then after the loss of my brother, that was paid for. And then I went through and received counseling as well as training through David Kessler. He's a world-renowned grief counselor. And through his educational program, quite extensive, I paid the money to do it because I'm an educator. And the one way counseling worked for me was being educated in it. And I learned so much. Even the ministerial side. He brought a Christian person in, and then he brought a Catholic person in to sit down and deal with the Christian community and how we view grief. And oh my God, that discussion was powerful. Everything from suicide to every aspect of grief. The planned, the unplanned, the diseases, everything, how it affects your body. That man walked through every form of grief you could think of. It was in that program, worth every penny. And when I walked away, I wanted to include it into my business. So now I offer counseling services. And honestly, it's slow. A lot of people do not sign up for counseling. A lot of people do not contact me for counseling. I don't know why. Some people think you're not qualified to talk to them about counseling when they don't realize you can't talk about where you have not been. People won't even get their appointments, and they know they need them, especially our Christian community. It's more people walking around in loss than they realize. Because lost is not only mean a life, it can mean a limb, it can mean a dog, it can mean a job, it can mean a house, it can mean moving from one city to another. There are so many people, I sit down with people all the time, and they're in grief, and they don't even realize it. They're living in the past, and we're not going to even, that's a whole nother conversation will be preachers that are grieving. Loss that hits the church, and they don't want to let that preacher go. They still putting their preacher's name on every program, and they don't want to let the church move forward. It goes so deep. So my support system, so that I won't navigate from the question, ended up being select few, a very select few. And it ended up being a lot of counseling. I entered into a counseling community, if you will. And it made me become educated. I don't think I was trying to be, but I ended up being certified in it.
All right. So this next question is so important because I talked about my mother before, right? I'm my mother's baby girl. But I was her baby girl. And she gave me certain responsibilities because she always saw me as the strong one. Say, baby, I told those people on the job, if something happened to me, don't call the rest of them children because they're going to lose their mind trying to get here. They're going to hurt themselves. I told them to call Bertha because Bertha going to stay calm. She going to get over here and she going to get me and make sure everything was good.
Absolutely. That was me.
Yeah. And so it's important because a lot of people saw me as the strong one, right? And after my mother passed, and I think I took on that role too, right? After my mother passed, there was so much going on, and I had so many things to maneuver from her funeral. I was over her estate trying to make sure everybody was acting right, you know, doing what they were supposed to do. Nobody was fighting. And I remember she passed and I didn't cry, right? Because in my mind, I'm going, you got to push this behind because right now you got too many responsibilities you need to stay, you know, focused on. Right. And my brother, love him to life, came to my house and said, baby, I'm just coming to check on you because I noticed you haven't cried yet. And you just going to need to cry. Right? And I said, in time. Right? And when I did cry, it was like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I went to get up to pray, and it just became a flood. Right?
Absolutely.
And I had to let the emotions out.
Yeah.
But I remember that moment when nobody other than my brother said, Bertha, you okay? How you doing? Right? Nobody checked on me to see how I was doing. Nobody made sure that I was okay.
Exactly.
And I'm just running and doing everything and making sure everybody was fine. And I'm the baby, right? But I had that role. So my question to you is, as a woman in ministry, were you given the space to grieve publicly? Or did you feel pressure to uphold a spiritual strength that others expected from you?
Dynamic question. I too am the baby, and I was of the two children. I was the most vocal. Most people thought I was the oldest, and I was not. My brother was the oldest, and I actually looked up to my brother. A lot of people did not understand our relationship. However, to specifically answer the question, for my mom, no, I was not given the space. Um, my mom passed in August, and I was ordained as the pastor, installed as the pastor rather, in October. Even at her bedside, I was told, okay, now I need you to drop those tears because you know you're going to have to be the pastor. In the hospital when she just died. That's what I was told. I remember early, mom died in 2017 and early 18. I was in a conference and I was told, I'm going to declare a moratorium on your tears because you need to stop crying. I felt like it wasn't even, I don't even think 6 months. And it definitely wasn't a year. And it's like every time I tried to grieve my mom, it was taken from me because I had to move the church forward. So for my mom, absolutely no. I grieved on the go, and I do not recommend that. At least initially, you need to push pause. For my dad, I did better, but I found myself in a dating relationship that interrupted my grief. And it felt safe at first, but it wasn't. It wasn't a safe thing, which took me into more grief because my counselor pointed out to me, now you have your dad and now this relationship, and it's technically two losses, but they're very different losses. And this relationship shouldn't have even existed. But because I was in so much of grief, it felt safe. Again, whole nother whole nother conversation. With my brother, yes, I was mature enough in ministry to take the time away. My brother passed in July of 2022. I took the rest of 2022 off. I feel like although I started functioning in 2023, I still feel like I grieved the whole year of 2023. And I was okay with that. So I was more aware when my dad and my brother passed than I was with my mom. My mom, there was no pause. With my dad, I would say that was a slight interruption in my grief. And it was probably my fault I was just vulnerable, you know. But then when my brother died, I pushed pause. So it's a real question. It's a good question, and I can answer it honestly as I reflect back on being able to take the time. And now, even when I see pastors now, I tell them they may not always listen because you don't have the ear of every leader. But I could share a lot with leaders if they, would ask. I want to help. I put myself out there to help because I feel like God has given me something to say to them. But I would tell any leader, push, pause, literally leave. If you say to a leader right now, why are you going to church? They'll look at you like you're crazy. I got to get them to go to church on Sunday. Why? Why can't you just stay in the bed? They will look at you like you're crazy. But I don't see nowhere written where you're not supposed to rest. You've got to grieve. And they don't want to grieve. So they wear the grief like a coat. And it just rubs off on everybody. It affects everybody because they are influencers. And they have not taken the time to grieve. Go out, go away. If you've been in church your whole life, leave. Go home. Get some caretakers for you. Get some counseling. Take a trip and take some care companions with you. But push pause. I wish I can get that out to people more.
Okay, you're sparking my brain. Really, you are. Because again, this is needed. I think too, because in these cultures, we tend to think we have to push forward, even in those moments of grieving, even in leadership. Can we just be honest? We have to push forward. I always tell people this, and it's important, is that you're the one consistent factor in your life. 5 years up the road, 20 years up the road, 30 years up the road. You're going to be with you, guaranteed. That is not guaranteed for anybody else in your life. And with that truth, it is important that you learn how to take care of you. And I think when spiritual people hear that, they go, "Oh, that's just selfish," because we got to put it on, and we got to make sure we take care of the vote, And you know what I'm talking about, okay?
I do.
But that's real, because even Jesus took moments to get off by himself. And we assume that he always did it to go sit in the presence of God. And he was always in the presence of God.
Always.
Can we just be real?
Always.
Always in the presence of God.
Yeah.
But he still removed himself from the crowd and went out alone by himself. That'll preach right there. That's a whole message that we need to take pause. We need to pause. Leaders need to pause, and it's okay. And the people need to allow them to pause.
Allow them. Yes. Yes.
Because we put too much pressure on these leaders, and they're human too. And they feel the need to sustain this pressure that you're putting on them.
Yes.
And that in itself can really wear a person down. We're talking about spiritually, mentally, emotionally, all of that.
Yes.
So thank you for saying pause, right? Because people need to hear that it's okay to pause. And God is okay with you pausing.
Yes.
Can we just say that?
Yes. Say it loud, proud. I tell the ladies all the time. I use a lot of movies to reference my point. I say in the Disney movie, The Incredibles, there's a lady who made the capes, little old short lady. And she told Mr. Incredible, she said, "No capes." And I tell that to the lady. I said, "No capes." In other words, stop being heroic. Turn off the theme music. I have private theme music in my head, and it's Wonder Woman. You remember that? Dun, 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 dun. You bust out in the turn. And then if you ever listen to the words of that, it's like, all the world's waiting for you and the power you possess. So you thinking you're doing this. You're not doing it. Even in your greatest moment, it's God. So I tell the ladies in All-Encompassing Woman, especially when we start talking about the feminine woman and the family woman, no capes, family woman. I say, you a family woman, not a superwoman. Because I always play that song, I'm not your superwoman. I say, y'all know that's the women theme song. We just, oh, no, no. I said, we love that song. I said, but God didn't call you to be a superwoman. He called you to be a family woman, a spiritual woman. He called you to be a balanced woman. And you don't get that until you take that cape off and turn that theme music off. But we don't want to do that. We got to show up for who? Who we showing up for? Show up for yourself first. You've got to, because you're going to be worn down. And when you dead, what I realized about death, life going to keep going. I was in the back of the limo when my mom passed. And I remember thinking, my mama just died. Where all these people go? Nobody took off work, especially if they didn't know her. The rest of the world don't know. This is you. And when you don't push pause and take care of you, oh, it's felt. It's like a vibration. It's like a wave, a ripple effect. Especially when you are influenced. I totally concur with you.
Okay. So, did anyone ever say things like you're strong or God has a plan? And how did that make you feel?
All the time. I heard it all the time. And I do know God has a plan. At times, if I have to be completely honest, it made me a little upset. Because I felt like he does have a plan. And you're telling me this because I wanted them to tell me why they felt the need to say. It almost felt like you're making me think I've abandoned God. The one thing my mama left with me was don't leave God. How do I get to experience a new place in God if I don't walk through this season? How does my ministry go to another level if I don't feel this right here? I gotta feel this right here. And I don't need you to make me think that I don't know God anymore. And I understood, and sometimes it's not what's said, it's how it's said. Because most people did not mean any harm. They meant it they had the best intentions. But it came across at times quite hurtful. And I was like, when you don't know what to say, just don't say it. Because you could hurt a person in the middle of their grief, So that kind of spoke to some of the silence too. People just didn't know what to say, so they just went away.
Okay. All right. So your next question. I'm loving this conversation. I really am. The next question is, have you ever struggled with balance between being the encourager for others and being vulnerable enough to admit your own pain?
I'm going to say that I realized that what initially felt like a struggle was not really a struggle. It was only a struggle when I wasn't being real. All-encompassing woman, I refer back to my mentorship because I believe that's how God allowed me to still have it, to have ladies to come for mentorship. I get ladies tell me all the time, I was able to be myself with you. It's your vulnerabilities. It's your realness. In the word of the Lord, it says that it's the word of your testimony that births out your full deliverance. I had to begin to unpeel and de-layer in front of these ladies, so they will know that you're not talking to somebody that does not understand. I've been married 3 times, divorced 3 times. That wasn't something I wanted to talk about. But I had to learn. I had to begin to talk to these ladies. Tell them about all the feelings. Tell them about all the things I had to walk through. I said, I don't have a club testimony. I don't have a jail testimony. I don't have a smoking or drinking testimony. But when it comes to relationships, I have a testimony, several. I said, I've been through, seem like every scenario, just not a widow. I said, so I can meet some of these ladies on their personal road of Damascus. So no, when I had to come and step into the call of God with a women's ministry, a real conversation with the Lord, what he was really calling me to do. No, it wasn't a struggle. It was only a struggle when I didn't want to do it. It was only a struggle when that Garden of Gethsemane moment came, and when you have to say, not my will, but let your will be done. You be kicking, you be going, I don't want to do that. And then the Lord said, no, this is what you're going to do. So no, it doesn't become a struggle at that point.
Thank you. I'll pause with the next question to ask you this, because I hear you talking about, the women that you mentor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how you become that safe space for them to talk without judgment.
Yes.
All right. That is so important in ministry.
Yes.
Right? I can't speak about anybody else, but I can speak from my own personal experience. To know that when you go to a leader, someone who's you entrust
Yes.
to guide you spiritually, to speak into your life, that when you share that vulnerability with them, first, they don't judge you. And then they don't take that, what you said, and make a whole message out of it and crucify you over and over again on the pulpit, whether people understand it's you that they're crucifying or not. That is significant. And it's this thing that most people call church hurt, and then we get all spiritual. What you mean church hurt? You weren't hurt in the world when you was going out there. But people expect to be hurt in the world. Can I say that?
Yes, you can.
But when they come into this building full of these spiritual beings, they're expecting a safe haven.
Mm-hmm.
Is the expectation realistic? Absolutely not. Because the Bible says the church is the hospital.
Right.
That means there's some sick folk up in the hospital.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But even in the hospital, there's some doctors and nurses there to treat you. Right? And so I want to talk about this space that you create for these women, because earlier you said, even when they come and share with you homosexuality and different things, you allow them to be vulnerable in that space.
Yes.
That is key. You have to allow people to be vulnerable, even in these spiritual spaces, without judging them, without rebuking them, and allow them to be vulnerable. Listen, the one person that we talk about so much in the Bible is David.
Yes.
David was a different kind of man.
He was.
But the Bible says that he was still a man after God's own heart. Why? Because regardless of what David did, he was real with God. And how do leaders now become that placeholder? So that when people come to them and share their vulnerability, rather than judging, they understand that the people are really just saying, God, I need your help, because this thing that I'm dealing with in my flesh, it's something real. And sometimes people go to leaders, not that they're not praying, because can we just be real? They're human. And they go to leaders because they do want some human guidance from leaders that they've seen as the man, woman of God, spiritual being, to help them out. I want to talk to you about that, because I think that is important, that we understand that when we're in these spaces, they're honored in such a way that we have to allow people to come into these spaces without judgment.
Absolutely.
I'm a therapist, but I'm also a spiritual being. And part of that, I do offer Christian counseling.
Absolutely.
And if a client needs to pray in my session, I have no problem praying.
No problem.
Right? but my rule is still the same.
Right.
No judgment, no biases,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I think that has to be incorporated even in these spiritual outlets, religious outlets, because people are trying to find a place, right?
Yes.
And if anybody's listening to this, don't come to me talking about, well, we ain't all perfect. And church is a church, a hospital. Yeah, I know the church is a hospital, but we need some doctors up and nurses up in the hospital. We
Absolutely.
need somebody to care for these wounds.
Absolutely.
We need some type of spiritual HIPAA compliant law that you understand. That you don't go back and share this stuff up on the pulpit and shame folk.
Exactly.
And then mad at them because they hurt and they walk away. Not from God. Please know that. Not from God, but from this place where they thought they could feel safe. Because we all need a safe space.
Right.
And sometimes the only safe space that people can find is church. Can we talk about that?
Yes. First I want to say God blessed me to have a mentor, and because I'm just not calling any names during this session. God did bless me with a mentor. And I remember when I went through what I felt a huge, I'm gonna call it fall or vulnerable place after the loss of my father. I went to my mentor and I was ready for her to give it to me. I don't know what I was expecting to happen, but I was ready for her to give it to me. And the exact opposite happened. There was no judgment. The comments that she gave, not only did they make me laugh, they lifted me up. Her love lifted me. She shocked me. My mouth dropped. And she wanted me to know, she said, it's not my job to judge you. She said, and why in the world am I going to beat you up? Because you're doing a fine job of beating yourself up. And that let me know that when people are going to their leaders, they're already beating themselves up. They're already feeling the blame, the shame, the condemnation. So they don't need that. And what I would say to leaders anywhere is sincerely study the life of Jesus Christ. When he went, and you can tell the Samaritan woman is one of my favorite characters. When I hear people preach about the Samaritan woman, I be ready to stand up and go, all right, now don't say nothing. All right, now be careful, because I fight for her. The way Jesus handled her, he sent the disciples away and he took a special route to her. And even when she wanted to lie, even when she wanted not to tell it all, because she said the 5 men came up, but the one she was living with didn't. And Jesus said, and the one you living with, in other words, Jesus was like, give it all to me. I need it. In order for this to be truly effective, I need you to give it all to me. Don't hold nothing back. Give it all to me. And that's the problem. We are afraid to give it all to the leaders because the leaders don't always open the forum for us to give it all. I mean, are you really ready to hear drug addiction in your room, pastors? Are you really ready to hear masturbation in your room, pastors? Are you really ready to hear homosexuality in your room, pastors, without your face changing, your eye going up to the left and the wrinkle coming in your forehead? Are you ready? Are you ready for me to tell you the truth? Don't ask me if you don't want me to tell you the truth. And then, am I going to hear you craft your message around what we talked about? Because trust me, when is God? I went in church, I don't know a single soul in there, and somebody will say, you just preach things about my life. I don't even know you. I don't know you. I don't know this church. It's my first time coming in there. You know that was God. That wasn't Dr. Hart. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying there's some that know how to do and craft that don't do that. Because that really does hurt people. You have to listen to people. They need help. They are struggling. They need help. And even leaders, we need help too. Yes, I have major degrees behind my name, and nothing bothers me more when I want to ask a leader a question. They give me that look like, well, you got degrees, you don't know the answer to that? Oh, I'm supposed to know everything? What is that? Or when I visit a church, I get the look, oh, Dr. Holly, what you doing here? What am I doing here? I'm not coming to worship. I trusted you enough to come in your congregation. What do you mean? What am I doing here? I get all kind of things. And I'm looking like, really? You know, I have seen so many different things. And as God deal with me, I've been a church girl my whole life. And when God told me, I'm sending you out, and he separated me, although I go to church and I worship God, right now he's separating me, and he's reprogramming me to do virtual ministry and to do ministry different, to reach people. I believe it's all God, because some people are never going to step foot in church. And if you really look at the real assignment, according to the Great Commission in Matthew, it says go into all the nations. So everything's not going to be handled in brick and mortar. And I have nothing against brick and mortar, but everything ain't not going to be handled in brick and mortar. You got people out here that really love God, and they've never been in church. And that's just real.
How has grief reshaped the person you are today? Not just as a minister, but also a woman, daughter, and sister.
Grief made me human. Grief introduced me to humanity. You know you're human, but when you get saved and you've been in ministry as long as I've been doing ministry, you know, you don't know how to deal with, you know, black, you know, white, but you don't understand gray. But grief taught me that there is a color gray. I know they say 50 shades of it, but I'm just saying, grief taught me there is a thing called humanity. Grief taught me there are flaws. Grief taught me there are weaknesses. Grief taught me that I'm nothing without God. Grief helped me fully understand who God is and that I needed him. I knew I needed him, but it brought me to a real, authentic place in him. So that's what grief reshaped, remolded. It put me back on the potter's wheel with the Father. And that's what he told me when he visited me in my home. He said, I've come to know you in a very real way. I don't think I would have came to know God if it wasn't for grief.
So, Dr. Hardy, I want you to talk to me about what inspired you to begin advocating for Alzheimer's awareness, and what has that advocacy done for you and your healing?
Alzheimer's, I describe it as a dis-ease. I know we call it disease, but it is a dis-ease. And it affects not just the person who has it, but it affects everybody surrounding it and the caregiver. And my book was my inspiration to be an advocate. I wrote this book, Caregivers, The Forgotten Patient, and it's emotional support for Alzheimer's caregivers. Because for me, I realized that in order for you to take care of another person, Alzheimer's requires you to give up your whole, you have to push pause in your entire life. Put your life on hold to take care of a whole nother human being. Easier said than done. You have to give your total self. And caregivers are of all ages. You have 6-year-olds that are caregivers. You have elderly that are caregivers. You have those that have mental illnesses that are caregivers. So this thing is far and wide. Okay, it's not simple at all. And my inspiration became because my father was my hero. He fought for me. Somebody bothered me. I said, I'm gonna tell my dad. But my daddy would show up. My daddy gonna show up for them teachers, for that principal, for that little boy on that corner. My daddy gonna show up. My daddy gonna show up on my job. My daddy showed up in my marriages. If that man didn't act right, my daddy said, hold on just 1 minute. If you're not gonna treat her right, give her back. But my daddy showed up. So what inspired me was, number one, I began to write what I was going through. I was writing, I was journaling. I didn't know it was going to become a book. It ended up being a book. But as the book began to grow, agencies began to call me. And it became, I needed to be an advocate because my daddy was an advocate for me. So me fighting this dis-ease is what my daddy was doing my entire life. He fought for me. So I'm going to fight for him by fighting this disease. And I'm choosing to advocate the caregivers because the caregivers are necessary to take care of the person that's actually affected and infected with this disease. So caregivers are dying. Sometimes they die faster than the person they're caring for because they don't get to go to the doctor. They can't sleep. They can't eat. They can't rest. When your family members start what they call sundowning, and they're getting up all day, they've lost the sense of track of day and night. And at 2 o'clock, they're up and they want to be asleep and they can't sleep. Their sleep cycles are off. It's real. And I had to start writing to keep myself from losing it. I had to start going, okay, let me write this down because if I don't write it down, I'm not going to be able to keep up with what all this is, what's happening. I'm not going to believe it when it's over. So this became my therapy. And it ultimately became a book. And by the grace of God, all of the people that have purchased a copy, I get feedback on this book all the time. They love it. They say that it makes them laugh. It was meant to be funny. It has cartoon characters in it. The idea God gave me was to build it off of all of the mean, grumpy cartoon characters. So Grumpy Smurf, the Grumpy Dwarf, the Grinch, every grumpy character you can think of was referenced in this book. Grouch, if you're familiar with Grouch from Sesame Street, every grumpy character. And I wanted to use the actual character, but I don't have the rights to those characters. But I had an artist that drew me and drew my dad, and it tells every story that you can imagine. And some stories are meant to make the caregivers laugh, because if caregivers don't laugh, they will break. They need to know that someone gets it. They really do. So some of the stories in this book are purposely funny.
I love it. I love it. Can you tell viewers, listeners, where they can get that book?
Oh, yes. You can just go to my website. My website is my name, drmonicahardy.com, and click shop. And you will see the book, Biggest Day. It's the daddy-daughter journey. Also this time of year, November is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and my birthday is November 10th. So to celebrate my birthday, I participate in the walk every year. So also on my website is a button where you can join my page and join my walk team if you're local. We have shirts that look just like this, and we come together and walk. And if you're not here or if you want to just donate, you can just go on their website and donate any amount. And I'm grateful. And the Alzheimer's Association, the local chapter, will tell you I am a big advocate. I'm a big participant.
Would individuals, organizations that would want you to come in and speak about Alzheimer's, would they also go to your website?
Yes. And they can direct me. There's a spot that says connect with me, and you can just type it in. I speak at a lot of the Alzheimer's Association meetings here in Jacksonville. I am scheduled to be speaking at Hope Chapel on August the 2nd. They're having a meeting because the first lady there, she has a group that deals with caregivers. That's one of her passions, and she's invited me in as a speaker. So I have speaking engagements about Alzheimer's and being a caregiver advocate all the time.
Okay, love it, love it. Okay. Do you ever see your father's essence or spirit reflected in the work you do today?
Um, through my advocacy, yes, but mainly it's my mom. When it come down to when you say the work that I do today, I am what people call me Helen Hardy 2.0. I'm a true extension of my mom. My mom was a writer. My mom was a speaker. My mom was an entrepreneur. And I am Mama 2.0. So in my work, I would say I have the essence of my mom. I probably would say I have more of the character of my dad. Because my dad was the fighter, the hero, the locals, the loyal support. I am the empowerment girl. I am the let me help fight for you girl. That's that. But the actual work is mine.
Love it. I love it. If you could go back and speak to yourself on the day you lost your brother or your father, what would you say to that version of you today?
I would say it can wait. Sit right here and cry. Period. Now people say period. You know how they say when texting and driving, that little cliche, it can wait. I would say to myself, Monica, it can wait. Sit right here and cry. I feel like many days I cut off my grief. I place myself as well as my grief aside to appease people's thoughts, and to get back in the fight, get back in the race, get back in the crowd. And the reality is, I didn't need to be there. I need to be home. I don't even, I'm very selective now about my invites out, especially socially, because a lot of people will say, and they don't think, they're probably not thinking when they do it. I want to invite you to a mother-daughter brunch. I didn't want to do it in 2017, and I don't really want to do it now. What am I going to do at a mother-daughter brunch? I mean, it just really depends, you know. God has blessed me to be surrounded by some spiritual mothers, and maybe if they went with me and I could feel the love of that, maybe. But no, I mean, someone would say, "Come on to this daddy daughter." No, no. Even when people invite me to family things, I get it and I appreciate it, but it really depends. Why? Because it's the holidays, and what y'all don't realize is you're surrounding me by the one thing that I don't have. So whereas in your heart, come be with our family. But I don't have that anymore. I just want to be home. I want my sons to come over here. And I want to get my dog and my son's dog. And I want to feel like I got a family some way, somehow. I want the dogs running through the house barking because I need to hear that noise. I need to know what family sounds like. So sometimes, no, I'm learning how to self-soothe. I'm learning how to be okay with me. I'm learning how to be okay at a restaurant by myself. I'm learning how to be okay at dinner by myself. I cook and sit in my own table and eat alone. That's been hard for years, and I'm finally being okay with it. So I would tell myself then, it can wait.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Whew. Mm, okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Hardy. This is a lot, but it's beautiful. Um, and thank you for your work, right? Thank you for everything that you're doing, right, to help others through this process because it is so needed. And caregivers need to know how to pause, right? Because you can become fatigued in caring for a parent or anyone. And knowing how to pause, knowing that it's okay without the guilt, or those in leadership, knowing how to pause without the guilt. That's very much needed. So the next question is, what would you say to that person out there listening to encourage them around caring for their elderly parent or struggling with the loss of both parents and their only sibling?
Um, there's some very specific things. And first thing I would like to say, first of all, I was once told, and I didn't get it then, but I get it now. I was once told that grief is like a club. You're not a member until you're a member. And I thought when I first heard that, how cruel. But I get it now. Some aspects of grief and caregiving, you're not going to get until you are faced with it. You're just not going to get it. Long as your family is still with you, happy as you can be, and please be happy, enjoy them. But the moment you have to join this club over here, it's gonna bring in a whole new revelation. So I would say, first and foremost, daily self-care. I recently counseled someone who was taking care of a loved one to Alzheimer's. And the first thing I told her was daily self-care. I said, you must do something for you every day. I don't care if you go walk outside. Take a moment for you every day. It doesn't have to be a spa day. It can be go to the store by yourself, but do something for you every day. Buy you a candy bar. I fell in love with Friday Dairy Queen, the Blizzard. Don't mess with my Blizzard. Even when I was working out, my trainer wanted to take the Blizzard. My whole face changed. He said, okay, put the Blizzard back. Don't take her Blizzard. That was my self-care. Give me my Blizzard. The next thing I would say is mind map. Get you a journal. It could be a notebook. And I don't know why I turned the page horizontal. I turned it this way, not that way. I just turned, and what I did was I began to mind map. And what that does, I said, draw a big circle in the middle and write M-E, me. And then I want you to draw lines coming out of that circle with everything in your head. That's your way of getting it out. Okay, I'm upset because the light switch is broke. I'm upset because the you know, the car won't crank. I'm upset because, but get it out. Because you need all that you're carrying around in you, and it's like combustion. You're gonna soon explode. And then the last thing I would tell people to do is, tell people what you need. Don't what you, oh, I'm fine. Tell people the truth. I'm hungry and I need groceries. And I often tell people, don't go asking people what they need or how they feel if you're not going to answer the question. If you're not going to answer that question, don't be walking to people talking about how you feel. And if you don't want to know, don't ask. Because one day they're going to tell you exactly how they feel and you're not prepared for it. And I tell, it's okay to tell people I'm not okay. What do you need? I need my phone bill paid. You ask, tell people what you need, because somebody is going to say, how much is it? What do you need from the grocery store? I'll go get it right now. It's in this book. Things you don't ask and things you do ask. But when people are caregiving, don't follow their rules, follow their lead. When people are grieving, follow their lead. Don't be walking up to people talking about, well, hey, that stuff sounds good. But what I need is the dishes washed. And I don't have the strength to wash them. Say, in the words of my son, say less. I'm coming and I'm washing them dishes. I need, back in the day, what they say, the saints of old, now they had their issues, but this was a part of showing love. Start the washing machine. Run the vacuum cleaner for people. That's what we in-laws need. My house is falling apart. Some people may not let you in, and I get it, but tell people what you need. I just need my Wi-Fi bill paid. Pay it. But don't ask if you don't want people to tell you the truth. But don't be afraid to say what you need. Sometimes people need help. I just need some help. And you will be surprised at what you do to their life. So those are the things I literally tell those that I counsel from the first day that we meet. I will, and what I do, even with clients that I meet, I want a meetup date. And most time I make it picnic form. I find out what they like to eat, like a sub from Publix or Firehouse or Subway, and I go get the sandwiches. And we go, there's a park here in Jacksonville in front of water. And if they need me to, I will pick them up and I drive them to that park and I hand them their sandwich and I get my sandwich. And we sit there and stare at the water because I need to give them an example of what self-care looks like. I want them to see. And eventually they eat. Sometimes they won't, but eventually they'll bite that sandwich. When before they were not eating at all. Do things like that. Show up for people. And then you will begin to get them to open up and tell you what they need. You help them. And then you can give them an example because they don't know. But once you show them that, they'll go, I can do this. Yes, you can. You can do this. You can do this. So that's my advice.
I love it. I love it. Let me just say this too, that most people think there is a timeline on grief. Scientifically, we have these stages of grief.
Right.
Everybody goes through these stages differently,
Right.
but we tend to think there is a timeline. There is no time because the person that you love is gone. The person that you are accustomed to having in your life is gone.
Yeah.
Will you have moments in time that you still grieve them years down the road? Absolutely. Right? It's just that when that grief becomes so strong, you are secluding yourself, not getting out the house, can't go to work, all of those things, then we need some help
Yes.
because often you're falling into deep depression and it happens with grief and we don't talk about it enough.
Right.
Well, it's okay to take that time to grieve. If that's a week, it's a month, you do what you do, you grieve. And then when you're prepared to do so, you start navigating your life.
Right.
So I want to say to anybody out there that's grieving, anybody who's grieving that parent, husband, whoever, and they're still here
Yes.
from Alzheimer's, or they're gone, you're okay with taking your moment to grieve. Be okay with that. Don't judge yourself,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Dr. Hardy, I love the way that you explain it. It's like losing a person multiple times over. And that's like grieving a couple of times,
Yes.
right? And then when they're finally gone, it's like, whoa, like really, they're not here anymore.
Really gone.
Like mentally, they weren't here before, but now physically, I can't touch them.
Yep.
Give yourself the space to grieve.
Absolutely.
Give yourself the space to feel. And if it's too much and you're finding that you don't want to get out, do anything, it's okay. Pick up that phone, find you a therapist. One that is a good fit for you, by the way.
Absolutely.
Find you a therapist and talk to them. That's what they're there for. Allow them to help you. Because therapy is just more than talking. I don't know why people think that. It's more than talking, but they are equipped to help you. So don't be ashamed to ask for help. Don't be ashamed to put yourself in a space where you can get the help that is needed. No judgment, no biases. And if you are being judged, I have no shame in saying find that therapist. Fire the therapist, right? And find you another.
Find you another.
But please get the help. All right, Dr. Hardy, thank you. Is there one last thing you'd like to say to the people before we end the show? I really appreciate you.
I have thoroughly enjoyed this myself. You will grieve. One thing I've learned through my training, you will grieve for as long as you knew that person. So as parents, I'm in my 50s now. So I'm grieving them my lifespan. I'm learning that. There was a concept we learned called integration, integrating back into the world. And so if you have to integrate or migrate back into society, that means you should have had to take a pause from it. A lot of people never leave when they should have. But those who did, yes, they now have to get back. It's like entering a highway. You have to merge into traffic again. And a lot of people need help doing that. So don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to push pause. And a lot of things that's happening to you are really for your good. We don't see it that way. We don't see the Bible say all things work together. Just like when I went through imposter syndrome and I felt like I ain't doing this, I ain't doing that. I felt like I left me. I stepped away from me. But that moment, I probably needed to step away from me. But if you really got the Holy Ghost and you really have a relationship with God, don't worry about it. God don't need your help. He God all by himself. He know how to navigate you right back. And most time, he don't take you back to who you were. He take you back to a better place in him, a deeper place in him. So it's called process. And you're not hating God. You just don't like the process. Well, get in line. None of us like the process. But it's what we call becoming. It's how I'm making. That's what he meant by I'm going to make you a fisher of men. We got to become this thing. This thing that's not going to happen overnight. You die daily. And see, we say these things and we preach these things and we talk these things. But this is how you come to know God in a real way. This is how you come to understand process. You got to go through something. You got to be pruned, cut. Things going to be cut away. But the Lord says in his word, he said, when my mother and father forsake you, I'm going to take you up. So you can sit back and talk about all of this stuff, but scripture supports what we're saying. It supports it. So I now I feel my faith is grown because of all this. I feel God has made himself known to me through all of this, and I'm still growing each and every day. But I believe this is how I'm coming to know God better than I knew him before, if I had not went through what I've gone through. And I'm trusting him now more. I'm able to believe in him more. Just like this book. I love this book because there are things in this book I said I understood them, but I understand them better now. How do you truly believe God if you haven't gone through anything? But I believe God, and I know he's real. And so we have to understand, coming to know Jesus Christ is going to open everything up for you. The word of the Lord say, for God so loved the world that he gave. God loves and he gives. So when you really study Jesus, all this makes sense. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hardy. Let me do my infomercial real quick. That book that you just saw her pick up, that was the first book I ever wrote, called Believe, The Key to Unlocking Endless Possibilities. I'm just saying, you should know that, right?
Yes.
And I was in that book, so thank you so much. And thank you for listening. Thank you for viewing. And I hope that something in today's episode, something in this entire episode has helped you in some way. I hope to see you on the next episode, but until then, continue to talk about mental health and how to make yours a priority. If you are a professional or someone with a story and would like to be a guest on the show, go to our website, intaketalkshow.com, and complete the form to be a guest. Perhaps you are someone with a question or comment that you would like addressed on the show. Again, go to our website, intaketalkshow.com, and complete the contact form. I hope to see you soon. And remember to continue to talk about mental health and how to make yours a priority.
This concludes our interview with Dr. Monica Hardy. Did you enjoy this episode? We'd love to hear from you. Leave your comments and feedback on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, or right on Spotify. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Next week, we'll be joined by actor and producer Boogie as we kick off our men's mental health series. Thank you for watching and listening, and remember to keep the conversation about mental health ongoing.